welcome back to Zantastic. This is episode 3 of the podcast that helps you understand what makes you fantastic so you can make your mark on the world. My name is Kathy Zant. Of course, this podcast is named after me. Why not? In this episode, we're going to be talking about criticism. We're going to be talking about negative responses to your content and how you can move past it. If you haven't yet subscribed and this content is useful to you, I invite you to subscribe, to follow the podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave me a review, anything, any kind of feedback, even critical feedback. You see, criticism is the natural repercussion of trying, of doing something, anything at all. Now, I've been podcasting and I've been creating YouTube videos. I've been creating content on the internet for 20 years. I've had my share of criticism. I might even get criticism for this episode. If you have created content, I'm sure you have had the trolls come along at one point or another. Here's the thing. I can always tell when something is going to be successful, when it's kind of getting legs, when it's going a little bit viral, when it's getting an audience, when the critics show up. When the trolls show up and I go and look and see who is this person commenting on one of my videos, and they have a whole cache of Pokemon videos on their YouTube channel. The critics, they come out. If you are doing anything at all, you are going to receive critics. There is a famous quote by former President Teddy Roosevelt that I just want to read to you because this kind of says it all. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. Now, this was 100 years ago. So the person who was in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. It's a great quote, and it's something that's resonated for me greatly as a content creator and just generally in life. Now, it's football season right now. There are teams matching up in the playoffs. There is a winner who advances, and there is a loser who does not. And not to use like football analogies and turn this into some kind of motivational speech, but someone's going to lose. If you go out to play the game, someone is going to lose and someone is going to win. And no one ever wins every single time. You will never not know failure, no matter what it is that you do. As a content creator, you are motivated somewhere to share information, share your knowledge, share your expertise for some reason or another. I'm going to tell you, if you put something out there and you start receiving criticism from random people on the internet or even from well-meaning friends who just say, that wasn't that good, whatever, you're going to receive criticism. You're going to receive harsh feedback and you're going to receive constructive feedback. It's not always going to be accolades and applause. It's sometimes going to be negative. It's sometimes going to hit your ego in a place that is uncomfortable. It is the nature of the work. It's the nature of everything. No matter what you're trying to do, you are risking failure. If you're going to try to do anything great, you are risking failure. You're going to risk not hitting the mark. What do you do? Job number 1 is to take that criticism and analyze it. Is this helpful to you? Is this something that is going to help you create better content in the future or do a better job in the future? If so, take those pieces out. Set your ego aside and to really detach your own self-worth and self-confidence from the actual work. If someone's criticizing something that you've done and you really do want to make it better, you're going to want to take any constructive criticism you can in order to make that work better. It's about the work. It is not about you. Now, sometimes you'll get people coming into your content and leaving a comment somewhere and they will make it about you. They'll say mean things. When someone's on the internet and they leave a random comment and they are hiding behind an anonymous moniker, they'll say anything. But here's the thing. Every comment, whether constructive or not, says more about the person who says it than it does about the receiver. You are actually just triggering something in them. Now, I had an experience about a year ago where someone said that something I had done was spammy, cringe, and cheesy. It wasn't. And I had other people saying that it wasn't, but this person was triggered and didn't even say it to my face, but said it behind my back to other people. And it got back to me that my work was not good, that it was spammy, cringe, and cheesy. But I really had to put that in context of the person speaking those words. They were triggered. They were triggered somehow. And maybe they still believe everything I do is spammy and cringy, but invite them. I'll take a step down from that stage. Let you speak your mind any way that you want. Let you do the work because you're so much better than me. Take my ego out of it altogether and make it about them. But that person wasn't in the arena. That person wasn't doing the work. They were just the critic. And for some reason, there was some psychological motivation, some kind of pattern that was being triggered in them that caused them to speak up in that way. And it's really important for all of us when we receive criticism to put it in the correct context. One, is this criticism useful? Can I take something from this and do the job better? Is this something that's helping me become a better creator? If not, then you let it go. It's really fun when you get someone who spends at least a half an hour writing up a comment on something that you've created, and you can just look at it and see no value in it to your audience or anyone else, and you can just delete that comment. Now, if you get a comment that's somewhat critical but has information in it that you think is helpful to your audience, let that comment stand, but add your own context. Say you're sorry if you made a mistake. I created a video once for a product that I was representing, and I made a mistake. It wasn't a mistake associated with the intent of the content. It was something ancillary to what I was trying to show, and I made a mistake. I had to address the mistake. It felt bad, of course. It's like, oh man, I didn't think about that. Of course, you don't do that. I thanked the person and said, yeah, you're absolutely right. You do want to make sure that you do this other thing. So you want to address any kind of criticism that is valid in a way that thanks the person giving that feedback to you in a way that's helpful to your audience. Own your mistakes, own it when you have missed the mark, and support that person's message in adding additional context to whatever you're trying to do. Respond to negative feedback in a way that you're not trying to hide a mistake that you've made. Own that mistake, add it to the content that you're presenting because it's going to make the content better. It's also going to show your vulnerability. It's going to show that you're human, that you indeed make mistakes, but you're willing to rectify those mistakes. If you try to hide it, it is eventually going to backfire on you. Evaluate the source of any kind of criticism. Is the criticism coming from someone who is also an expert in the field? In that case, you'll want to take that criticism to heart. Learn from that experience. Any kind of failure is only feedback. It is feedback designed to make you better, to make you think about those ancillary things that are supportive of the intent of the content that you're doing and make sure you get everything right. And when you fail, it's okay. But it just means you're going to go into the next product, the next video, the next podcast with better information that is going to help you up level and further exhibit your expertise, because that's what you're here to do. You're here to exhibit your expertise, your authority, your experience. And part of the experience is talking about your failures. Criticism is going to happen. It's just how you manage that criticism, how you deal with it, how you respond to it, that is ultimately going to lead to whether or not that criticism is something that's going to up-level you or whether it's something that you really just need to leave behind. Now, there are tons of critics out there. It's much easier to be a critic, to sit on the sidelines and point at the person in the arena and tell them everything that they're doing wrong. With it being football season, everybody is an armchair quarterback, myself included. Watching games with my husband, I can see where, oh my gosh, that's a great player. Oh, why are they doing that? And my opinion doesn't matter. I don't understand some of these plays or how the heck they pulled some of this stuff off. So my criticism just doesn't matter, as does the criticism from many football fans. What is it telling the critic? Like if you find yourself, and I'm sure you have, because we're not all just creators that never criticize. We criticize sometimes. You look at something that someone's done and, oh my gosh, why did they do it that way? As a critic, what can you learn from that? Well, it's important to understand that if you are watching someone else do something great and you have an inspiration to tear them down, what is it really inspiring you to do? How can you turn that negative response into something positive? Well, if you look at someone and you say, wow, they did this so poorly, it means that you have something to share. If you look at something and say that person is cheesy, spammy, and scammy, and you know that that message can be done better, either help that person or do it yourself. Do it better. Show them. It is your message that you are to take stage, that you are to share your expertise, not in a way where you're like, oh, well, this person did this bad thing, and here, let me show you how it's really done, because that doesn't really do anything for you. It just makes you sound petty, right? But what you can do is to take what they've done and make it better. There's nothing new under the sun, they say, right? Everybody's pretty much had the same message. This message I'm sharing about criticism has probably been shared about 1,000 other times by other people on YouTube and other podcasts, but I've got my own take, right? And so that's why I'm doing it. I was very inspired to talk about this because I had a security video that kind of popped off a little bit, and of course, the trolls came out. And that to me, actually, I reframe that in my mind. When I have a piece of content that resonates and the algorithm starts showing it to people that I've never come in contact before, and I start getting trolls, that to me is my sign that I did well. That to me is actually a sign of success. I fail if it doesn't find audience. I fail and rethink everything when I publish something and it lays flat in the algorithm. But if it takes off a little bit and the algorithm decides to show it to people who don't know me, then I know that I have achieved success with my audience, and now the algorithm is testing that with other audiences I wouldn't have found otherwise. So when I get criticism, it is my sign that I have achieved something. Something's worked. It is my sign to do it again and to learn from any positive criticism that I receive and to do better next time. Always look at everything that you're doing with the intent of doing 1% better every time you click publish. Every time you put something else out there, it is your opportunity to up-level your own game. Not because of the critics, but because you want to be the best. You want to achieve something. You have some sort of goal with whatever you're trying to achieve with the content you create. Criticism and failure is just a necessary part of the journey. The problem is when criticism gets in your head, when you have your own inner critic that tells you that everything you do sucks, and the external critics feed into that and get that pattern going in your head. To me, that is a mind virus. It is malware in your mind that is stopping you from doing the thing you came to this planet to do, and that needs to be eradicated. If you have that pattern running, the only way to eradicate it is to do it anyway, even though that pattern is running, even though that pattern of fear is there, even though the voice is telling you that you are not going to succeed, that everything you do is worthless or people have done it better and your voice doesn't matter, all of those things that are going in your head, you have to do it anyway. And it's going to bring up a ton of anxiety. The first YouTube video that I published on my Kathy Zant channel, I did it on Christmas morning, and I had seen something in the news and I knew it was important. I knew I had to speak out about it. I knew I had to highlight what was really going on because this news had come out right before Christmas, and I knew no one else was going to be talking about it because everybody's cooking Christmas dinner and spending time with their family. My family was all asleep still. I was cooking a lemon meringue pie and mashed potatoes, and I put everything on hold to do a faceless video to share what I knew. And that video took off. It was perfectly timed. It was information that people needed. But as I was publishing it, I had so much anxiety coming up within me because it was the first time I was going to do something like this. And I did it anyway. Maybe doing it anyway, even though you have that negative pattern of this is never going to work, I shouldn't be doing this, who am I to say something like this, maybe doing it anyway, with that energy flowing, gives additional energy to the actual end product. That video ended up going viral, as well did the video immediately subsequent to that. I have only one other video that's done quite as well, but I'll have more. I know I will, because that's the thing. Not everything you do is going to be a home run. Not everything you do is going to get tens of thousands of views or millions of views until you perfect your system, until you perfect your voice. So you're going to have a lot of base hits. You're going to have a lot of at-bats that don't necessarily go anywhere and you strike out. There are going to be a lot of attempts that make you question whether or not you should be doing what you are doing. Doing it anyway is the path to success. Doing it anyway and committing to the path forward of whatever it is that you are trying to achieve, and continuing to stay open to additional information, constructive criticism, observations of where you've missed the mark, observations of, well, I didn't think that would work. That first video I did, the thumbnail's terrible. I'm not going to change it because it's already said and done. You're always going to do things that could be done better. Even when magic happens and you're in your flow and all of this energy is coming out and you create something of value, there's always something that could have been done a little bit better. You talk to musicians or any other creatives and they talk about, I wasn't quite happy with this guitar track, or I could have done this better. Or sometimes they talk about how a piece of music just kind of comes out of nowhere. They write it in an hour sitting alone by themselves in their office, and it turns into something magical, and they don't even feel like they're a part of it. Those are the magical experiences that I think we're all after, where we just kind of tune into that inner frequency within ourselves, that higher self that has a message that wants to get out, and we let it flow. But we're not going to have that experience every single time. We have to stay open to it and hope that it shows up. Every time I turn this microphone on and sit in front of this camera, I hope that flow comes for me. A lot of times, this is not a scripted podcast. I've got some basic notes of things I want to hit, got a quote written, but I wait for the flow to come, because that is where the magic happens, and that is what I want to invite in. When that happens, I let go. I know 100% it is not about me. It is about whatever needs to come in, whatever I am opening up to, and I am giving voice to something that someone else needs to hear. Otherwise, it wouldn't be showing up. And that's what I wait for. And that's why I do this podcast. So set your boundaries. Decide early what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. Get familiar with what is constructive criticism, and set a boundary of what you're going to listen to and what you're not. Focus on your goals. Understand what it is that you are trying to achieve. Remember your why. My why is the magic that I open up to. If it shows up, it is here, and I am here. Be your own constructive critic as well. Regularly evaluating your own work and saying, yes, I like this. This works. And understanding why it works, and setting some targets of what you can do better without beating up on yourself and without saying, I can't do this. Reflect on your why, and reflect on what it is you want to achieve and how you want to grow. Have some targets of what it is that you'd like to achieve by analytics, and reflect on how well you're doing every single time. Be okay with failure. Be okay with something not being understood. Be okay with just doing the work. We're taught as little kids to take criticism to heart. Every piece of creative work that we've done gets graded. If you competed in any kind of intellectual activity, I was on debate teams and speech teams, and by the end of it, I knew I was burning out when I realized that it was ridiculous that I've created this thing and I go out there to be judged. Why am I doing this? I don't want to be judged. I want to have my voice just flow freely. And I knew I was burning out at that point, when the criticism no longer resonates, when it no longer matters, and when you can rise above it and realize that there is value no matter what anyone else says. When you can take the criticism and put it in the context of their judgment is their judgment, but I know my worth, I know my value, and I know that what I'm doing here is good and useful. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be useful. When you can feel all of that, despite the judgment, despite the grading, despite the critics sitting on the sidelines, then you know you're on a roll. Doesn't mean you never listen to criticism. It just means that you know your self-worth in spite of the criticism. Next time you get some criticism, put it in the right context. Realize that when critics are speaking up, you might be actually finding greater success. And when you get that erroneous criticism from the trolls, that you know that the delete button is your best friend. And if you're on a social media network and you can't delete it, you just keep moving on. Know within your heart your why, what it is that you're trying to do. Keep doing that and put the critics where they belong. And that's not in your head. I hope this was helpful to you. If this has inspired you to keep creating in spite of any criticism, then my job is done here. And I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you got something out of this, give me a thumbs up. Give me a subscribe. This is all very new. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, follow me there. This podcast is everywhere podcasts can be found. So whatever is your preference. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.